Hi, I'm Chris James, and you're watching A Healthy Alternative. Today, we're going to be talking about distillers. All right, so I have noticed that as more and more of you have started to adopt the distilled water lifestyle, you've been having some issues with your distiller. And the main issue that I have noticed, and this is actually an issue that I personally had for a long time, is that some of you are complaining that the taste is off. Now, for those of you who buy the distilled water out of the bottle from the store, this makes sense because, as we know, water will pull inorganic material out of whatever it's in. So that goes for whether it's in your body or whether it's in a plastic jug. So obviously you're tasting the chemicals of the container, that plastic container. But it doesn't make so much sense when we're talking about distilling at home, especially since hopefully you guys have a glass jar that you collect your water in. And as well as the distiller itself is usually stainless steel on the inside. So why does it taste funny? Is it just that distilled water has this funny taste and that's just how it's supposed to be? Definitely not. And we're going to get into that today. Okay, so just kind of like so you guys understand, if you are using the distilled water from a plastic jug, it's okay. I'm not going to say it's the best way to do it. And also, I might also recommend that you have some large glass containers at home that you can transfer the water to. But it's going to be better than drinking other types of water out of a plastic jug or even drinking tap water. So we're not going to, try and splice hairs here. What I will say is if you're distilling at home and your water tastes funny, 9 times out of 10, I bet you that either your distiller is distilling the water too fast. So one of the things that I noticed when I very first purchased my distiller, because I bought 2 distillers. My first distiller actually distilled the water, I want to say in like 4 hours. My second distiller actually takes a little bit longer. I think it's like 5.5 hours. And that distinction seemed to make a huge difference in the taste. So if your distiller distills the water too fast, that might be something you need to look at. Now, after probably about a month or so of use with the distiller I currently have, I started having a weird taste. And what it turned out to be is that I wasn't putting enough water in the distiller. Okay, and in a moment we're going to look at the distiller so you guys can see everything I'm talking about. But essentially, there's a fill line in the distiller, and the fill line was too low. So what was happening was the distiller was actually boiling out all of the liquid, and then for a few minutes during its process, it would just be cooking those chemicals. And as those chemicals were pretty much cooking, they were evaporating and they were finding themselves back in the water. So it's very, very important to make sure that you're not getting this taste, because that means there's something in your water. Now, with that being said, when I started to solar energize my water, I did notice that the taste went away. So the sun still does have that amazing ability of breaking down these harmful compounds and making the water taste better, and also making it much, much better to drink. But if you either aren't solar energizing your water, or you just don't want that taste in your water, kind of like me, I'm very anal about my water. What I started doing was I started filling up the water past the fill line. So, and like I said, I'll show you guys in a second, on my distiller, it actually has the words fill here or fill to this line or something like that. I bring the water up past the actual line to the top of the words. And I find that every time I distill it, now there's always a little bit of liquid left at the bottom of the distiller at the end of the process, and that will help you know that you got the right level. Now, obviously, if you put too much water in, your distiller will start leaking. It'll overflow in your capture jar. So there is kind of like this, zone, this Goldilocks zone you want to try and find. But for me, it was pretty easy. I just fill it up to the top of the words and I'm good to go. So let's go ahead and look at my distiller and I'll let you guys see what I'm talking about. So we're at my distiller. This is a Megahome Distiller. Excuse the messy countertop. That has nothing to do with me, and that's my story, and I'm sticking to it. Okay, now, as you can see, right now, there's a little bit of black, well, orange, kind of brown liquid floating around down there. You want to see that. I know it looks terrible and it seems terrible, but that's what you want to see at the end of your distillation process. You want to see a little liquid down there. The color comes from all the chemicals and all the toxins and everything that are actually in the water you're drinking, and this is what's left over. Now, obviously you can see it's calcified quite a bit on the inside of this distiller as well. But that's what you want to see, and what's happening when you don't have enough water is this liquid here is becoming evaporated and it's ending up getting in your water to some degree, and that's where the taste is coming from. Anybody who has a distiller knows that this stuff smells horrible too. It's horrible smelling. I mean, it looks terrible. It looks like poison. Now, as you can see right here where my finger is, that's the letter for the full line. Okay, the actual line is right below and there's an arrow. That's how mine is set up. But what you guys are going to do is you're going to fill it up to the actual top of the F, right? And that's at the top of the fill line. Let me see if I can get a better shot of this. Okay, so you see here where it says full, okay, and there's a line right here. Typically that's where you would fill it up to, but you're actually going to fill your water up to right at the top of the F here. And if you do that, you will notice a lot more water in your capture jar, but you will also, you'll notice that the taste is different. Now, just for the heck of it, we're also going to look at this filter. There's a filter that comes in here. And the only reason I want to point this out is because one of my friends got a distiller and they didn't know this filter was here. It's a carbon filter. I'm going to pop it off real quick. And I probably could replace mine too, but this filter needs to be changed out every so often. And sometimes you will see a little black when you very first start distilling. It's from the charcoal filter. And so that's where that's from, in case you guys were wondering. But I change mine, I think it's like once a month or something like that. I think that's how often you're supposed to do it. I think it also could be determined by how much you use your distiller. I clean my distiller like once a week or once every couple of weeks. I don't clean it all the time, but what I'll do in this situation, I'll just put it in the sink and I will rinse it out with some water. If I have some distilled water left over, I'll pour the distilled water in there, and then I will get a rag and I'll just lightly scrub the bottom, which will remove a lot of the stuff that's really loose. And this will actually prolong your clean cycles. You won't have to clean as often because you won't have as much calcium built up. And then I just go ahead and I fill it up with water, you know, just like this. I'm pretty sure the instructions say don't use soap. There's a special powder that you use to actually fill this up. And that's what you guys should be using. So anyway, I'll fill it up with water. I'll fill it up to that line and then I'll turn it on. Before I forget, another pro tip too is to take some paper towels, lay it underneath your capture jar just in case you put too much water in. That way the spillover gets absorbed by the paper towel and you don't have to worry about a whole bunch of water over your countertop. If you're careful, this won't happen. But in the case that it does, if you're careful, the paper towels will absorb it all. If you go crazy and just fill it all up, the paper towels won't catch it all. But yeah, let's be smarter than the machine, people. All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope this kind of brought some clarity to this subject, and now you can get a little bit crisper, clean taste out of your distiller. Something that's a lot more enjoyable to drink. Hey, just to let you know, I did put the MP3s for all of my videos. So I added the soundtrack to the Patreon account. Make sure to check that out. If you guys like this video, don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. And if you want to see more videos like this, don't forget to subscribe. And as always, the application of knowledge is power. and I will see you guys next time.